welcome to Author Showcase, a interview show on Oshkosh Media Channel, and we have our own YouTube channel. I'm Tom Cannon. I am the poet laureate of Oshkosh. Thank you for being here.
And I'm a co-host, Dixie Jarko, and today we'd like to welcome Ruth Percey from the Oshkosh Lakefly.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit how the Lakefly started? And
Sure. So first of all, I do want to thank you for letting me be here. So the Lakefly Writers Conference is sponsored by the Oshkosh Public Library. The very first event was held in 2013, and we're going strong. It is held the early May of every year. It is a regional conference. We get both speakers and attendees from Wisconsin and surrounding states. It begins on a Friday afternoon and goes through the following Saturday. Lots of great speakers, programs, a nice lunch. We also do an open mic and some other fun activities to make it a really cool experience.
And this year you're having a book fair too.
Yeah, so this year we tried a book fair last year just to kind of test the waters. And this year we were expanding that. So the book fair part is, while they're both in the same location at the Oshkosh Convention Center, the book fair is actually kind of separate. So there's the conference and then the book fair that's going on independently. The book fair is just held on Saturday. It has a built-in audience of all the conference attendees, so there's a good customer base there. But it is free and open to the public at large. And there will be authors there from throughout the state that will be selling books. So it's a great time to find your next new favorite author and support the writing community in our area.
And get your book signed.
Get your book signed, absolutely.
Yes. And just for full to be clear, Bill, Dixie, and I are part of the Lakefly. We've been there for many times.
Yes.
Yep.
And so for many years there was always a book fair, but it wasn't publicized. And there wasn't a lot of public participation?
Yeah, it was really open to the people that were going to the conference that had written books and were looking for a place to sell them.
And I would say it was still worth it because part of that book fair, like last year and this year it'll be the same, is the networking and the getting to know the other authors.
Absolutely.
So in those previous years when there was a lot of public coming in, it was still a great time and valuable to meet the authors that are around our area.
And some of the sessions are set up like workshops also, so you can actually, they'll have you walk through how to do, a poetry, how to do a
Absolutely.
piece.
Some of the workshops that we have at the conference are activities-based, so you'll be actually writing during the sessions. All of them are designed that when you leave, you should leave with a takeaway, like something valuable. What did I learn from this workshop? That's one of the questions that we ask people who are pitching to speak at the conferences. If someone attended your presentation, what are their takeaways? So every workshop is designed to have something meaningful for the attendees to take home, practice, put into use.
And is it geared for beginning writers or people who haven't written a word or more experienced writers?
That's a great question. And it really is geared towards beginning writers and probably like mid-level writers. Both of you have books out. Obviously, you're not making your living yet writing. So it's essential for both newcomers and for seasoned writers because you can elevate your craft, you can network. There's so much information like from other people that attend and from our speakers who have gone through, trying to find time to write, like those very simple writing techniques. Am I a plotter? Am I a pantser? Where do you get ideas from? Where do you find time to write? So there'll be things for those types of people, but also people who are trying to self-publish. As you both know, self-publishing is really taken off. People are struggling. Do I need an author newsletter? We're going to have somebody there to talk about designing a good author website. There'll be a thing on financial record keeping for writers. For those that are independent, again, it's a whole different skill set from writing. So there will be something for both of those. Now, those are what we have just for this year, but every year we try to offer something for both of those audiences, for those that are just kind of beginning and trying to hone their craft, to those who are ready to really seek publication and take it to the next level.
I know the year I got my agent was, they had agents there and you could pitch to them, and I actually secured my agent at the Lakefly, so I'm eternally grateful.
Yeah, we change lives. We'll have most of these things will just be part of your registration fee, but we do have what we call add-ons. So you can meet one-on-one with a social media expert. You can meet somebody one-on-one with a critiquing coach. We're going to have professional photographers there, so you can take. It's an extra fee, but you can get 5 headshots for your book jacket, your business card, your website, that kind of thing. Did I mention door prizes? We also have door prizes.
We have great door
Very
prizes.
door prizes.
Yeah. This year, Tammy Borden is going to be our keynote speaker. She wrote a book on her mother's experience growing up in Nazi Germany. Some relevance to today. She did a lot of research. Her and her mom actually went to Germany and saw where she'd grown up and stuff. So she's got a great story to tell. She started out as I think she self-published.
Yes, she did. Yeah.
And then it really took off. So.
And then she got an agent, and
Yeah, everyone's path is different.
yeah, it's true.
Also, this year we're planning a panel discussion with librarians. One of the questions, I work at a library. How do I get my book into a library? How do I get an author talk? So there'll be a panel of librarians there to answer questions and guide people on how to connect with their library and work with them. Yeah, I just ran out of words. I'm sorry.
Have people enjoyed it? Have the reviews been good for the Lakefly?
Yeah, our retention rate is over 60%. So 60% of the people that have been to a conference come back. It's extremely affordable, which thanks to the Oshkosh Public Library and the Library Board for donating endowment funds to support the conference. And we realize also that especially coming out of COVID, there were a lot of writing and literary opportunities that aren't there anymore. So we want to try to fill that hole.
A lot of conferences have closed.
Yeah.
COVID kind of killed them.
So we're hoping, to fill that void. And if you haven't been to the conference, I really recommend that you check it out. When I say that we change lives, I'm not even lying. There was a gentleman that attended last year, G. Anthony. It was his first conference. He was scared to death. He came to the open mic. He's got a book out now.
And he's going to be there this year and probably every year
Promoting his
promoting
book.
his book and selling his book.
A lot of the people that have come as attendees have now honed their skills as such that they're presenters now. So we try to help support people's writing endeavors, whether it's the actual writing or talking about writing, teaching writing.
Short stories, devotionals, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever path.
And I know, like Tom was talking to me earlier today about like my own writing and my own writing journal, and I just want people to know that this conference isn't just for people that want to publish or try to make a living off of writing. It is for anybody who enjoys writing, who enjoys exploring life through words and our experience through life, even if you are just writing for yourself or your family.
Right, it's just those people that enjoy writing and want to explore a little bit more.
Maybe get a little better, a few more techniques.
Yeah.
And there's many, many reasons why people write, to get published. Lots of us want to write the next great American novel.
Sure.
And
or memoirs, if you want to record something for your family.
So there's, smaller. There's just a whole gamut where maybe you just have that children's book that you want to get out and you're inspired by your grandchildren and you want to write that book. We have a lot of people that have done that.
Yeah.
And then there's people that want to write the memoirs. And there's
poetry, chapbooks of poetry.
Yeah, and a lot of the workshops are geared toward, it doesn't matter what your writing goal is. So for example, it might be something on dialogue, right? You have dialogue in fiction, nonfiction. You could have it in essays. So how to like maybe write really good dialogue, regardless of what kind of a piece you're writing. One of the workshops this year is going to be using romance in your writing. Again, if you look at even like a mystery novel, a medical crime novel, or even a historical piece, there's an undercurrent little subplot of romance. So a lot of these things would be applicable to no matter what type of genre you're writing or what your writing goals are, that you'll find something useful.
And so is there kind of like a dichotomy, kind of also tracks where it's writing tips, writing, teaching you skills on how to write, but also the business end of writing?
Right. So we've got a couple tracks. One is related to writing technique and being a better writer. The other one is more for people that are further along in their writing journey, and they might be looking at publishing or self-publishing. They might be doing that off their website. They might be getting that to social media. So I already mentioned the financial record keeping for writers. There's going to be some sessions also on self-publishing. If you're going to publish yourself, just some tricks. People have done this before, right? Like this is not new. And so people have learned from their mistakes and they want to share their experiences so you don't make the same mistakes that they did. So there'll be some of that there.
You've had some amazing presenters like that guy who did the firearms. Like
Yes.
if you want to use firearms in your mystery novel or your romance novel, he actually brought in replicas and showed you how what he saw in novels that was wrong. Or we had the fire guy, the arson investigator, retired.
So we have subject specialists.
Which I think is very unique to the Lakefly, is actually specialists that could help you if you're writing that murder mystery or
Whatever
to
it
lend
is,
authenticity.
So like nothing is worse than you're reading a book that happens to be in your field or you just have knowledge about, and then you see like, I don't know, the example I can think of is this is an old example, but CSI, they would put a gun into a plastic bag.
Right. Yep.
And that's not how it works in the real world. And if you knew that, you read that, and all of a sudden your author doesn't really have credibility because they don't really know that. So we bring in subject specialists who have an area of expertise. They're not writers, but they're just good at what they do, to give us tips on how to make our writing more authentic. In the past, we've had a coroner has been there. Last year we had Dr. Jordan Karstens from UW Oshkosh. He's like the bone guy. He solves cold cases through bone identification. We had a nurse who talked about what it was like to be in an ER room. This year we're going to have a specialist who's going to talk about AI. That's really big, especially when it comes to writing. A little bit controversial, but just to kind of explain like what it is, how it gets used. And we had the gun guy too, the police officer.
Tool marks. He did tool marking.
We had a thing on blood splatter.
Yep.
Anyways,
That was an interesting PowerPoint.
Could go on and on, but
And there was Dr. Karsten, Karsten.
Yeah.
Yes, and I haven't done so, but I forgot, and I would recommend his podcast. It sounded very,
Cold
very
case.
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
cool.
this is a person who does cold cases all over Wisconsin, kind of like the TV show Bones,
But real.
but real, yes.
Yeah.
And he finds remains in their bones, and he's able to explain how you might not necessarily be able. You can tell if they're male or female, but maybe not, and how long they've been there, and the health and
They
stuff
got
like that.
bugs on them.
Well, he's nice because even like with the coroner, they share stories. They draw from real life examples, and a lot of them are things that are in the headlines. That we've all read about, and now we get like an insider's behind the scenes view of how it was solved. What else you want to talk about?
Do you have any tips for people on how to get the most out of a writers' conference?
Yeah, I do actually. So the schedule will be available in by the end of this month. And I would go through it and just see what's available and select what things that you want. I'd be prepared to start conversations. We try to create situations where you can network and meet new people. Really the most important thing is just come with an open mind and be ready to learn.
And that's good to know because there are probably 3 things going on at the same time. So
there'll
there'll
be
be some hard choices.
Yeah, there'll be, at some point, I think there's like 4 workshops to choose from, plus all the add-ons with
Yep.
people scheduling appointments for one-on-one consultations with the expert. It's
Well,
very
it's
busy.
just on
and
you,
it's, yeah.
And I think people will find that pretty easy to do. I know I went to and attended writers conference like the one in Madison. And you try to meet people and stuff, and
It's so
if you're
rushed,
it's
yeah.
so But I find with Lakefly, I think we do a good job. I think we quality speakers and it's well run.
More of a leisurely pace, so you have a couple minutes between sessions to connect with people, because that is truly the most valuable thing, to get you enthused about writing and connect with people who might be able to be in your sphere later.
Now, I do want to say, I know this audience is going to be our local community,
Yeah.
but we do have some social activities for people that are coming here that might be by themselves, so that they don't have to like eat a meal alone, or they don't have like a Friday night that they don't know what to do. We keep you running. We have a full schedule. It is amazing.
And at the same time, the attendees, I find them to be very, very nice and sociable. They're
Yep.
yes. And even we go so far as to, do you want to go meet up at Beckett's or a different area restaurant and
Yeah.
meet some different people? And even including a open mic Friday in the library.
Yeah, if I can say just a little bit about the open mic. So the open mic will be on Friday, May 2nd. It starts at 7 o'clock. It's in the library dome, so that's the historic original part of the library. We're going to have the front doors open. People can come in the original entrance that's flanked by the 2 lions, Sawyer and Harris. Usually we end about 9 or 9:30. It's free and open to the public, so you don't need to go to the conference or be registered for anything. If you just want to show up, you can read. We ask that you keep it to 5 minutes. A lot of people just come to enjoy the ambience and be entertained or saddened, depending on who's reading what. But some really good talent. It's one of my favorite things.
And that's every year. Even next year it's Friday. There's going to be the open mic.
Yep.
And there'll be people from all over the area.
Yeah.
Will the contest winners be speaking at that, or no? No.
But there is a contest.
Right. The deadline for the Lakefly Writing Contest just ended, I believe, on February 28th. The judges will soon be getting their the entries to judge, and those will be announced during the conference.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And if you just want to get kind of a flavor of what it's like to go to a writers conference, especially ours, I would go to lakeflywriters.org.
Yep.
Go there, and that's where you can see the schedule. You can see pictures from previous conferences.
Yep.
And what to expect.
Yep, and we've got a blog. We also have a Facebook page and an Instagram account and a Blue Sky account, but the website is the best place to go. There is a blog there, so we are continually posting programs as they're being booked. I also want to just say that I'm very grateful. I had mentioned that Tammy Borden is going to be our keynote speaker, and she is sponsored by the Wisconsin Writers Association, which we've had a partnership with them for a long time. I actually joined them in the 1980s when I think they were called the Wisconsin Rural Writers Association. But they're a fantastic organization, and we're very pleased that they're working with us. And then also Nicholas Butler, he's a Wisconsin author from Eau Claire. I think his most popular book is maybe Shotgun Love Songs.
Shotgun Love Songs,
But he's had a couple out since then, and if I wasn't feeling nervous, I would know the names of them. But he had a book that just came out in February. He's going to be doing a workshop, and his presentation is going to be sponsored by Lake Literary Center, which is a new business that opened up in Fond du Lac. They're doing open mic, writing classes. They've got some really great stuff going on there.
And I think that's a great resource for Fond du Lac and the surrounding areas. And just,
yeah.
And that's a great place to find out more about Wisconsin writers. We had Nicholas Butler a few years ago, his first
2018, I think.
Yes. And he's just a great guy.
Oh, he's so approachable. He'll just hang out and talk with you, and he's about writing or anything else. He's just wonderful.
Anything on the farm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And other notables, like I found out about Liam Callahan.
Yep. He's been a keynote speaker. Michael Perry, Dean Robbins, who's a children's writer. He's been a keynote in the past. We've had Beth Amos, who most people would know her as Annalise Ryan. She writes the Mac Bar series, Helping Hands. I think she's got 4 series out. Patricia Skelka is going to be there. She's got the Door County Mysteries. Yeah, so not all the names are well known, but these are people that have done well and have something to teach to other writers.
Yep, and that I know with Michael Perry, when he spoke with us, he was able to inspire us even just by saying, like he's on National Public Radio and he goes to a lot of speaking events and he's very busy throughout the year, but he says he remembers the days of being at a little bookshop and sitting there to empty tables and chairs and waiting. And so
he's got a great story about when he was starting out. He was at a Barnes & Noble, and they had a little fireplace in their store, and there was only 2 people that were sitting in there by the fireplace. And then, so he thought, well, at least I got 2 people here. And then they did an announcement that Michael Perry is going to be signing books, and the 2 people got up and left. Yeah, so he knows what it's like to start at the bottom.
Yeah, and speaking of, it reminds me of book fairs. I was thinking about that today because Dixie and I were recently up in De Pere at a book fair, and it was a lot of fun. And the thing is, I encourage people to come there. The interesting thing is, like, there's tables, there's booths for sale, but we're not salesmen, we're authors.
Yeah.
And even if you don't buy a book, we're just happy that somebody was willing to talk to us about our book. Because,
just come by and chat.
Because, our family's not going to ask us about our book.
No, they've already read it. So.
And so part of the reason for doing the conference, for running it, for putting so many hours in, is you want to develop that community. And I want you to talk a little bit about that. But also to reiterate, the Lakefly Facebook page and Blue Sky, and those are also resources, not just for going to the conference, but resources for writers, because we want to support people and give information even if you can't make it to the conference.
Yeah, absolutely. You asked me a question, but now I don't remember. Sorry.
How important do you think it is to develop community, and what is Lakefly's role in the community? Yeah.
So I think, especially coming out of the pandemic, but also we live in a very digital age, and being able to connect face-to-face with people. I mean, writing is a very solitary activity. So I started the Writers Club. There's an Oshkosh area Writers Club I started like 20-some years ago. But it was because I really needed help, and just sitting at my computer in my living room just wasn't working for me. So I think it's important to get out and connect with other writers, whether they are they're beta readers that are reviewing your work and giving you some good feedback. But even at a lower level, just hanging around with other creative types, I think is just good for your soul, right?
Some of my best friends are writers I met.
Yes. It allows for connection, because really, people write for different reasons, but most of us are just trying to make sense of the world, whether it's through memoir or a fantasy or a sci-fi story. We're just trying to make sense of things, and having conversations with people and sharing writing, whether it's poetry, like whatever kind it is. That human connection, I feel, is just more important now maybe than it has been, for some time.
And I think people will challenge you in any writing group. I wrote this poem and it was really bad. I think I was driving in the car when I wrote it, and somebody called me on it. And I was like, in a nice way. And so I went back and I wrote another poem, and it was much, much better, even though I'm not a poetry person. And I thought, I can do that if I want to. It's kind of inspiring when people are like, you can do better.
Yeah, and
Because
I
they've
think
been there.
whether it's the conference or a writers group, there's some accountability in there.
Yeah.
And I will say, you guys will know this, I don't take a lot of my writing to the writers group. But even so, just looking at other people's writing and looking at ways that it could be improved makes a person a better writer.
It does.
I have found when I've gone back to my own writing, and you guys will laugh, but like one of the things in our writing group is words that end in ly. So now
Those are bad words.
I purposely will go look through my writing and identify words that end in ly. But also other tips on things such as software tools that you can use, such as Scrivener or Grammarly, finding places to publish, we talk about query letters. Like, these are things that are also covered at the conference, but it's useful information. And again, there's different paths to publication. People have their own journeys and they make their own mistakes. And people that make mistakes are just delighted to share them so you don't make the same mistakes.
This is true.
We're very supportive, creative types that we are.
Yes. And sometimes there's a criticism, but you can just take to the heart that somebody cares that much about your writing that
They listen to me.
they heard it and they're passionate about helping you fix it.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't, nobody's really harsh. Like,
No.
I don't think anybody, would feel like.
No, it's
disheartened.
constructive. It's,
Yeah.
two kisses
I mean, we
and a
also
hug.
talk about what is right. We talk about people's strengths.
And like you said, even if you don't bring your own work in all the time, it's in a way you're talking about somebody else's piece. In a way you're trying to teach them something because you're just talking.
Or something you noticed,
And that's the best way to learn is to talk about it, to teach somebody, to have that that discussion.
Well, and I too, I'm very, I read a lot of nonfiction. For fiction, I have trouble because I am interrupted, my thoughts are interrupted from enjoying the writing because I'm looking at, how did they do that? And that looks like foreshadowing. And you're looking for, like in anything that I read, I'm looking for how did they do that made it powerful or meaningful or conveyed as something, And I feel that same way with critiques is that, and actually, like, someone can read a sentence at our writers group and someone can make a suggestion for improvement of like 2 words, and then you reread the sentence and it's made all the difference in the world, right?
Much better, yeah.
So
I think everybody needs it.
Yes, and I know just from going to the writers group too, I'm like, here's this piece. Okay, I read it. I think I got it. And then you go to, okay, I'm going to go and make some copies now. I'll give it one more glance, or I'll read it aloud. And reading it, you really pretty much have to read it aloud.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my goodness, because the extra pressure from having to read it aloud is it gives you more creativity. You get a lot more critical, and then you do improve it.
Yeah.
Not that people are, shouldn't be pressure because writers are not mean people. We're supportive and creative.
Their best support, like just creative types in general, tend to be very supportive people. And we might be a little weird too, right?
Well, we're all introverts, almost all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the open mic on Friday too. There's people that may be getting up there for the first time to read, and you have an audience that's pulling for you because they know how hard it is, and they want to be heard as well.
It's not like being a stand-up comedian.
No.
Or anything.
No.
They're antagonistic.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that I appreciate the support of the library and our other sponsors. The Oshkosh Area Writers Club also puts in a lot of volunteer hours as well to make the conference happen. But I do think that it is turning into something really special, and the people that go really value it. and it's inexpensive. Like, I challenge you to find a cheaper event. You're not going to, not at this quality.
Yeah.
Yep. And that part of I do credit the library with a lot of that. The previous director, you know, let's do it right. Let's have good quality speakers, and also let's have it downtown. Let's support the Oshkosh downtown. It has to be at the convention center, and that's where we wanted it, because Oshkosh has a nice little downtown, and people should come
And
visit.
right now, I think that's the only place that can fit us, because we've grown, which is delightful. While it's gotten bigger, it still is right-sized. Allows for that intimacy, those connections, and the little special surprises that we plan throughout the weekend.
Absolutely. Do you have any favorite events or memories from past writers' conferences?
Oh my gosh!
I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
I've met a lot of really nice people, and because so many come every year, I feel like I have made some nice friendships.
Yes, and the reason why I asked that question is because I know at the end of the conference you are, this happened, and I talked to this person, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's so much happens in in that 36 hours or whatever it is.
Yes, and I'll give one, seeing as I asked the question, and I think it was probably the first one, and we were able to book Dr. Larry Watson, who's a well-known author in Wisconsin, Montana, 1948, and Let Him Go was one of his most recent ones. It was turned into a movie with Kevin Costner.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and he was my professor at UW-Stevens Point.
Oh.
And
that's
so
right.
this was my chance to get this author, who I think is a top-tier author, up from Wisconsin, get it there and get to see him. And I remember going up to him afterwards. He's not going to remember me because, it was
Hundreds of students,
hundreds of students 100 years ago. And I'm like, what I wanted to say to him was, you were a great teacher, you did wonderful, but you were a terrible advisor. And so I got to come to him, and, I brought you here. You were just a great, fantastic fiction writer. And he cut me off. Well, thank you very much. And I'm very thankful that is where it ended.
Yep.
Because I was just doing it for humor, but.
This isn't really a fun memory, but it did make me laugh at the time. Is one year we had Michael Perry and Annalise Ryan, who's her real name is Beth Amos, and she's a nurse. And there was one of our participants had a medical emergency, and we had two doctors in the house, like two medics, which was nice. But I just have a lot of great conversations with people, and they're wonderful about letting me know, like, since last year, this is what's happened. I've gotten something published, or took more classes, or opened up my own consulting business, like whatever they're doing. So that's really meaningful to me. I really like to connect to other people. So,
and you're good at that.
So I've enjoyed that. Some of the speakers have just been amazing, and I don't get to attend a lot of the workshops, but one of them that was relevant to me was Dan Kramer from Page Turner Literary Agency in Chicago was speaking about how people feel like a phony or a fraud, like I'm not really a writer.
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome, that's what it was. And I think that was a really valuable session for the people that attended, because some of us don't have all the confidence that we should have. And, or fear of failure stops you from trying. And that one was one that I personally got a lot out of. But I wish I could attend them all. It's hard not being able to.
I think you do get a little insight that you're not going to see elsewhere, and you get to a little bit of actual person, Dan Kramer, and I remember the most important advice that I heard him say was opposite of what you hear a lot, because if you go online and people will say, you know what, you got to have this query letter, there's a big slush pile, and so if you get this wrong or if you don't do it quite right, they're just looking for a reason to toss it aside. Yeah. And I think sometimes that is true, but Dan Kramer can also show you that agents and people looking at query letters also are like, I want to know what this is about.
And we do have some publishers coming.
Yeah.
Some local publishers, so.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, Ruth, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. We'll see you at the Lakefly Writers Conference in the beginning of May.
I might only have time to say hello, but yes.
Okay, I'm Tom Cannon. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Dixie Jarko for Author
Showcase.
Showcase. I was getting there. I'm trying to be slower. And thanks for watching.
Thank you for tuning in to Author Showcase of Oshkosh with your hosts, Dixie Jo Jarko, Bill Gillard, and Thomas Cannon. We'd love to hear from you, whether you're interested in being a guest on the show, have a question, or want to share your thoughts. Please reach out to us on social media or via email at oshkoshauthorshowcase@gmail.com.